Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and get started with the Rules Committee. Before we get started, we're going to ask Chairman Parrish if he would lead us in prayer. Chairman Parrish.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the opportunity to meet here as we discuss issues that affect the people of Georgia. We'd ask for your guidance, your direction, so the things that we do are pleasing in your sight. Amen.
Thank you very much. Chair recognizes Chairman Matt Hatchett to present the budget.
Thank you, Chair Lady Ballinger. I present House Bill 915, the amended fiscal 24 budget. It is set with a revenue estimate of $37.5 billion, an increase of $5 billion or 15.6% over the original 24 budget. We have had all our subcommittee meetings this morning, started at 9, went through every line item that there was a change, and I presented it in full committee just a few minutes ago, and I'm not going to re-give my beautiful speech or go through it line by line to much of your dismay and probably disagreement, but I would take any questions that anyone has, since most people in here are on appropriations too, so if that's okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know many of your subcommittee chairs were very thorough in their examination of the budget and their presentation of the budget this morning. Members of the committee, do you have any questions with regards to House Bill 915? Seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Are there any other bills or motions that that anybody would like to be heard on? Chair Lady Cooper?
Thank you. It's on the yellow sheet, so is that permissible?
Sure.
Okay, that would be House Bill 1035. It's on the second page of the yellow sheet near the bottom. This is Pharmacy Board regulate and supply opioid antagonists through vending machines. Emory University came to us and asked that we make a change in the law that would allow pharmacists to put opioid antagonists in vending machines. That would be things like naloxone and some new ones that are coming out, so that they can make them readily available to students across their campuses. Right now, if you Google opioid addiction and problems, you will see that colleges across our state are at the epicenter of this crisis, and that it is now opioid overdoses are the leading cause of death for people 18 to 45 in our country.
Okay, thank you, Chair Lady Cooper. Chairman Blackman, did you have a bill you'd like to present?
Yes, Madam Chair. If you please, members of the committee, House Bill 992 adds an additional judge to the Houston Judicial Circuit as provided for by the Judicial Council's recommendation.
Okay, anybody have any questions with regards to that? Please raise your hand. Representative Al.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had a question for Chairman Cooper on 1035. I really don't know. Will there be any charge? I would assume not, but will there be any charges to use this vending machine, or what would be the requirements?
Well, I don't think that Emory has any plans to charge their students, and as far as I know, there's not going to be any requirements. Somebody suggested in the committee that they have to put in a credit card or some way of identifying themselves, and that would defeat the purpose, because so many young people don't want to be identified anyway in what would look like an opioid addiction. And my thing is it doesn't matter Because if they're addicted, or they have a friend that's addicted, and they use the Narcan or another drug, as long as we can keep people alive, there's hope that they will get off their opioid addiction. If they're dead, there's no hope.
One follow-up.
Sure.
Will that be available only at Emory, or will it be available throughout the system? I think it's a great idea.
So do I, and it's not specific to Emory. So I would imagine that once we pass this, that there'll be a lot of universities and colleges across our campus that would want to do this because, like I said, our colleges are at the center of this epidemic.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other questions on this issue? Okay, seeing none, Chairman Williamson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to ask for House Bill 876. It's the Department of Banking and Finance's annual housekeeping bill and comes with no known opposition, passed unanimously out of committee.
Okay, all right, thank you. Seeing no questions. Chairman Gunter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm asking for House Bill 456. This is supported by the GMA. It sets the minimum term for a municipal court judge at 2 years and provides that if there's a breach of the agreement, that it gives out the procedure on how that's to take place. But that's basically what the bill does.
Okay, all right. Any questions? All right, thank you. Seeing none, Chairman Hawkins.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd like to ask for HB 874. It's the AED bill. This was brought to me by the Georgia chapter of the American Cardiology. And what it does is actually put defibrillators in K through the grammar schools. Right now we have them in high schools. And also it sets up a training program. A lot of the schools are already doing this. They form teams and they practice twice a year with CPR and AED. So it's a life-saving measure, and it's a good bill. Thank you.
Okay, does anybody have any questions on House Bill 874 presented by Representative Hawkins? Chairman Powell.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd like to ask for HB 809, occupational therapist, allowing them to do dry needling. Currently, physical therapists have this. When the occupational therapist went to their board, the board asked the AG, and the AG said that this was going to take legislation as opposed to rule and reg. It defines the dry needling and the requirements for being able to do this by a physical occupational therapist. The total number of hours, they must 90 hours of foundational post-grad instruction, 3 years clinical experience, and must complete coursework on dry needling.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any questions, Chairman Powell? All right, seeing none. Any more bills that anyone wishes to present before the committee? All right. Oh, there is one against the wall. I do apologize. Representative Reeves, you are recognized to present your bill.
Thank you, Chairwoman Ballinger, members of the Rules Committee. I present House Bill 1019. This is the doubling of the homestead statewide. This is the first adjustment of the statewide homestead since 1978. It supports the American dream of homeownership. It passed unanimously, I believe, through Ways and Means. I appreciate Speaker Burns and Chairman Blackman for identifying this issue. Proud to present this to you and respectfully request to pass on House Bill 1019.
Okay, thank you. Members of the committee, any questions? Representative Park, I believe, Park, you have a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Regarding House Bill 1019, just to clarify, that requires a 2/3 majority. Is there a fiscal note or an estimate as to how much in revenue this may cost?
As with exemptions, I don't believe that is the case, but I would defer to Chairman Blackman on the question of a fiscal note. But it does require a 2/3 vote.
Thank you.
If you allow me, Madam Chair, but
Yes.
I'd be happy to get with Whip Park, after the
I'm sorry,
meeting.
you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry if I'd be happy to get with you afterwards and answer that question. It's a local impact and be less than $100 million because there are some variables to consider in there, how the county's local legislation was written.
Okay, all right. Chairman Hawkins.
Madam Chairman, I'd also like to ask for HB 945. This is something I worked on spring and summer with the hospitals and the insurance industry. They've come to an agreement of how to handle the out-of-network situation which occurs when the insurer and the hospital contract is in like mid-year. This bill calls for those that are participating in state health benefit and do a bid for that they will agree to use the year end of the state as the year end, so we will no longer have people that are out of network still paying these premiums and not being able to access our hospital or their provider network associated with that hospital.
Okay.
All are in agreement on the bill.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other questions for Dr. Hawkins? Okay, seeing none. Any other bills that anyone wishes to present before the committee? You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I bring before you House Bill 53, very top one on the first page. Basically what we're doing here, we're moving the Board of Registration for Foresters from the Secretary of State's office to the Forestry Commission. This is a bill we have passed out before, and we had to run it through another government agency to approve or vote down. But anyway, we're bringing it back this year. Senate Study Committee, and like I told them in Natural Resources, I don't put a whole lot of stock in what they do, but this is one of their recommendations on professional licenses. So they got one right this time.
Okay, all right. Does anyone have any questions? Chairman Smith.
This bill got a unanimous vote in the House Natural Resource and Environment Committee. Full support.
Okay, all right, thank you. And Representative Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the gentleman, just curious, what is the reason for taking it from the Secretary of State and making it an independent board?
Well, at the end of the day, it's just better, more efficient government. Right now, a lot of times, these they have to call in the Forestry Commission anyway because they have an investigative arm, like it deals with some timber theft issues and stuff. So they have to call in the Forestry Commission anyway. So this just removes that out of the process. It's more efficient government.
Representative Park.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I support the bill, certainly. Just a question in terms of lines 38. When this, or for any bill really, perhaps more of a general question, but when we're saying that a separate and distinct budget unit...
Yeah, and I have a substitute for that. We will fix that in the Senate, the date.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Well, the question, if I may...
I'm sorry.
Essentially, when we're saying that, the board shall be a separate and distinct budget unit, does that allow this new board to receive state appropriations to effectuate?
It will basically it will be sustained through their fees that they have to pay. Right now, we have approximately 1,000 registered forestries in the state, and in the bill, you'll see where they raise that their dues to $200 a year, which is about $200,000. The Forestry Commission have a letter from them. It's will cost, they figure, about $180. So their fees that they pay will cover the cost, and then there's also where it will go up based on the CPI index based in this bill. So the fees will be covered. So we should not have to cost the state any money to do this.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other additional questions? Chair Lady Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And my question goes to the procedure of this committee. In times past, if we have identified something as a Scrivener's error, is it not true? We are able to make that change in our full committee. I'm referring to the date change because the bill was from last year and the date needs to reflect it this year. Thank you, Madam Chair.
It is true that we are able to correct Scrivener's errors whenever there aren't a lot of, there isn't a lot of time. However, I think there is enough time to send it back. So I think that's the posture of the committee, the posture of the bill right now, is that we'll send it back.
And my intent was to fix it in the Senate if we could not, do a sub here, fix it here, if that's agreeable, but.
Okay. We'll look at it in a minute. Okay, after the meeting is concluded. Okay. Any other bills?
I do have House Bill 959, sixth one down on the second page. And this is a bill we passed last year. It's basically, there was some discrepancy or misunderstanding of the intent of the bill, where if a motorist was present by the abandoned or stranded vehicle, that you'd have to have your flashers on, and then if there's two lanes headed in the same direction, that you need to move over if possible, if not slow down. But there was some confusion on whether the motorist had to be present when that was there, and we clarified that in the bill, where yes, the motorist has to be there and the flashing lights on before you have to move over. Just an abandoned car, you don't have to do this, but if the motorist is present, you do. So that was the change in the bill from last year.
Okay. All right. Any other bills?
That's it.
Okay. All right. Any questions? All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. Does anybody else have any more other bills they'd like to bring before the attention of the committee? Yep. Representative Reeves.
Thank you, Chairwoman Ballinger and members of the committee. I present to you the Coastal Marshlands Restoration Act, House Bill 370, which passed out of the House Judiciary Committee. This bill establishes some quiet title procedures specific to coastal marshlands pursuant to the 1970 Coastal Marshlands Act and other state law regarding coastal marshlands. The current Quiet Title Act is open-ended and vague. This puts some procedures for the specific amount of land. 90% of our coastal marshlands in Georgia are state property. 10% or less have colonial grants, have disturbance through farming and colonial days, and have property taxation, things like that. This gives a process in the State Properties Commission, and if necessary, a special master and a judge to determine quiet title, but the end of the process would be for conservation use only. It would be a restriction. It would make that land eligible for mitigation, which would allow for restoration of that remaining 10% or less of our marshland that needs help. Mother Nature has not restored herself after 200 years. She needs some help getting those marshlands restored, and this bill would promote that.
Okay. All right. Any questions? Do you have another bill?
No, Madam Chairwoman.
Okay. All right. No questions. Thank you. Did you have a question? Okay. I do apologize. Representative Park.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Regarding House Bill 370, is it not true that there are significant concerns raised by a lot of conservation organizations, and that this bill would remove long-standing protections of Georgia's marshlands for the benefit of private developers?
This bill restricts the property for conservation use only, and as a matter of law, it provides, instead of having a vague and open-ending proceeding that can last 5 years or 13 years in one case we heard, this gives a specific procedure where due process would occur. The state would have a seat at the table to examine the title and see whether it's legitimate or not. It does honor environmental concerns and state interests.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Chairman Knight.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And again, to my friend, I know we have talked, and I really appreciate, as we're starting a conversation on this, from past history, I have some issues with this, and again, my main concern here is that we're changing the presumption of who owns the property or not, and I do have grave concerns, not only from a conservation perspective, but that we have put the burden back on the state, to prove something, and then if it changes that burden of proof, and it basically allows to defeat the state's ownership or title of this, at least my concerns. And I appreciate you, coming and talking with me. But I would appreciate a little more time, from the chair and all, so that we can discuss this matter. And I really appreciate that. And I appreciate the gentleman coming in and talking.
Thank you. And Chairman Knight, to respond on the burden of proof, the burden of proof does remain on the property owner who presents a claim of title. And what it does is they have to show a prima facie case of a colonial deed, use for farmland or other private purposes of property taxation. A rebuttable presumption then occurs. The state could still rebut that presumption. That is present in numerous claims, dozens of claims at state and federal court. The special master and the judge will be familiar with that. It just provides an orderly process of how you examine these claims. And I'd be glad to continue to talk with the chairman.
Okay. All right. Chairman Williams.
Thank you very kindly. You're certainly welcome.
Chair of the Liberty.
You're certainly welcome to my caucus at any time. But I too, to the gentleman, I appreciate the white paper this morning, but I too have some concerns. There are a couple of in my county. One dates, it was a King's grant. Very honestly, I have not heard a complaint from anybody on the coast. I've represented McIntosh County. I currently represent Liberty. I've never had anybody complain. And as far as I know, they've been good stewards of the land. I'm wondering, what is this about upgrading? I like the fact that we're the most undeveloped coastline on the east coast of America. And I'm just wondering, are we trying to fix something that ain't broke?
Representative Williams, Georgia's had successes over the last several decades in restoration projects of environmentally sensitive areas that have been disturbed by man. This would allow on that 10% or less of our coastal marshlands that were disturbed and remain disturbed to have it return to the natural coastland which meanders. Right now there are straight lines of tunnels and ditches and other disturbances by man. This will allow environmental engineers coming in and restoring that. If the property owner and the mitigation professionals choose to do it, it gives clear title for conservation purposes only. Just like with streams and rivers and wetlands in Georgia that have been restored to the way Mother Nature had it before people developed it, this would allow conservation mitigation to occur on the remaining 10% of the coast. If you get on Google Earth, you could see there are still areas that look like they were farmed. This would return it to the way the other 90% of the marshlands look, with meandering, beautiful marshlands. Mother Nature needs some help getting it restored back to its original condition.
Thank you for your explanation. My experience has been when we try to help Mother Nature,
absolutely,
we really screw up.
Well, if people do wrong, she will definitely fix it, but she needs a little help here based on 200 years of experience. The job has not gotten done yet, and this will help.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you. Any other matters people wishing to bring before the committee? All right. Having said that, we will be setting a calendar for Tuesday, February 6, 2024. Under modified structure, we have House Bill 385. Do I hear a move? Second? There's a move and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, like sign. House Bill 456. Under modified structure. All those opposed, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, like sign. It's on. House Bill 876. Is there a move? Second? There's a move and a second. All those in favor of placing House Bill 876 under modified structure, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, like sign. House Bill 992. Do I hear a move? There's a move and a second. All those in favor of placing House Bill 992 under modified structure, on the calendar for today, Tuesday, February 6, 2024, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed? It's on. For the rules calendar for Wednesday, February 7th, under modified open, we have House Bill 915. It's the amended budget for the fiscal year 24. There's a move. Is there a second? There's a move and several seconds. All those in favor of placing House Bill 915 under modified open, the amended budget on the calendar for tomorrow, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed? It's on. Modified structured, House Bill 158. Is there a move? Is there a second? It's on. House Bill 883 under modified structured. Is there a move? Is there a second? There's a second. All those in favor of placing House Bill 883 under modified structure for the rules calendar Wednesday, February 7th, 2024, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, like sign. House Bill 10035 under modified structured. All those in favor of placing it, is there a move? Is there a second? All those in favor of placing House Bill 1035 under the modified structured calendar for the rules calendar Wednesday, February 7th, 2024, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, like sign. And we are adjourned.